The first project we're presenting is called the Connected Cultures Project, which builds cross-cultural competence through non-formal education for youth. Please welcome the Connected Cultures team and their presenters, Aisha Al-Nama and Salman Ahad.
Hello, we are the Connected Cultures Initiative, and we are here to pull youngsters away from their digital distractions and let them have actual face-to-face interactions with young people from other cultures. It seems like a simple proposition, but we have been astounded by how few of these face-to-face interactions actually take place in our daily lives. I was born in 1994, and I grew up playing football with my friends outside. I was introduced to the world of computers and the internet at a much later stage, and when I was finally exposed to that world, I was obsessed. Google, Wikipedia, and Facebook opened my eyes to new worlds and ideas that I had never encountered before, and fundamentally changed my life in many different ways. Yet, as my generation was the first to experience the joys of the internet, we also fail to realize the grave social tolls produced by those experiences. One of those grave social tolls was that of cultural disconnectedness. When we face kids from other cultures outside Facebook, our interactions ended with some awkward glances or some angry confrontations. The great irony of social media is that it has given us more tools than ever before to connect with people from different cultures. But as it turns out, while we're encountering more diversity than ever before, those interactions are giving us a highly skewed and highly homogenized perception of different cultures. It is nearly impossible to understand an entire culture simply through 140 characters or 10-second snaps. Culture is lived 24 hours a day, every single day. So why is it critical to understand other cultures? Well, we're living in an increasingly globalized world, and that is linked with economic interdependence, and it's marred by ethnic conflict. As a student, you cannot thrive in a multicultural classroom. As an employee, you cannot thrive in a multicultural workplace, and as a citizen, you cannot thrive in a multicultural world without understanding the people you're engaging with on a daily basis. So where does our group fit into this picture? The Connected Cultures Initiative aims to address this social and digital gap by creating a platform that propels students to challenge their cultural presumptions and helps them reap the rewards of dealing with the uncomfortable nature of face-to-face interactions.
Connected Cultures is an extracurricular program comprised of two important key components. One is our engaging tailored activities, and the second component is our reflective debriefs. So how do we work as Connected Cultures? We play the linking role, bringing together content delivery partners and a network of schools representative of the different schooling streams in Qatar, be it private, governmental, or community-based. Now, this is to ensure a diverse student body representative of the different socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds. Through this network, students will have the opportunity to meet, connect, and engage, but also to play, share, and document. And to capstone this experience, they'll be able to question, reflect, and understand their learning. What's our mission? Our mission is to lead to the development of students' greater respect and understanding of the different cultures surrounding them, and also to build them as catalysts of change of the different societal perceptions on social diversity, and in the long term, to have them gain the soft skills required to thrive in an increasingly globalized working environment. We project to have Connected Cultures as a fully fledged running extracurricular program by 2017. We're also aware that as a startup initiative, we would require startup capital. But today, we're asking you for zero financial commitments. In fact, co-creation is integral to our initiative's core philosophy. We want to collaborate with you to design and deliver an engaging extracurricular program. If you're a cultural, educational, corporate, or governmental institution aiming for social impact and believe in the value of connecting cultures, we're asking for your support as partners to deliver this program.
My name is Joseph Al-Haddad. I'm the training manager at Qatar Airways for the Qatari development. And my question is, how can I individually assist your organization completely free of charge as a community work? So how could you suggest to use my skills perhaps in training the Qatari graduates and basically taking it worldwide?
So, as we've mentioned, we're looking for content delivery partners, and also we're looking for facilitators. So if you're interested and believe in the value of connecting cultures and would like to add value, we're really happy to have a conversation with you and see how we can work together.
My name is Tariq Hassan. I'm working with the Qatar Foundation, if you heard about it. It's in Qatar here. Well, I actually have the similar project to a project, but it's not like in culture, actually. So I like the project. It's like targeting students who study abroad, for example, something like this. So my project is the same thing. It's like we have a platform for youth and students who wants to study abroad. So we at the same time provide for them scholarships. So the platform is almost ready. We will be launching on December. So I can contribute with your initiative that we can share your stories, or we can share your your ideas, and we can share some stories in our websites. That websites will be to the whole students in the MENA region. But basically now it will be in Arabic language, and the next year will be in English. So if you want me to help you with this one, I can help you with this one. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
From your presentation, I really have a hard time to find out what is your mission and what is your vision and what are your goals. Unless you know the path that you want to follow, nobody can help you find the right path. So you have, first of all, to sit down and communicate to the people that you want to help you, what you want to accomplish, how you want to accomplish, and what you're looking for.
For our project, our primary mission here is to break down social barriers. There is a lot of diversity in Qatar and in societies all around the world that exists on paper. But when it comes to how that actually manifests itself in everyday social relations, you see that you have all sorts of divisions based on ethnicity, socioeconomic class, and gender even in some cases, and so on. And these sort of divisions start very early on at the school level. And what we're trying to do here is to create a platform where we bring communities that don't necessarily interact with each other together in a program where they learn to work collaboratively for shared experiences that could lead everyone towards a better sort of future that, where people can be enabled to work in a globalized 21st century economy.
I like very much the topic of connecting cultures, but I think you are in a very precious land, because I have just learned that here you have 70% of foreigners and 30% of Qatari people. So I think you couldn't be better to connect cultures. But the main content will be, connecting cultures is a very broad framework, right? So you need to kind of put it down to a specific. Are you going to see certain cultures, or you are just going, for instance, interactions between Qatari people, local people, and other people? Or will you say that, we be among other cultures who are living in Qatar? I don't know, but within that, you still, I think the basic premise is to learn what will be the main topic. I mean, are you researching, let's say, just to put an example, resilience elements? How resilient is a person to come, to live for the family and come to this place? I don't know. Levels of adaptation. So I don't know. I think the main element here will be to pick up from the so many elements that will be the basic content, and then you develop your indicators and the way you are going to be dealing about it. But I feel for what I've heard is very interesting to see how is Qatari and the other culture, because I travel a lot and this is the first country I see with such a percentage of foreign people in a country, so must be something special attracting people towards Qatar. So how is the interaction there? What is the values within this interaction?
I think you're spot on in your description of how Qatar is such a perfect place for this project because it's so multicultural.
Right.
But I can speak from my own personal experience. I was born and raised in Qatar, but the thing about Qatar is a lot of the school systems are sort of divided into three different distinct types of schools. So in our background research, what we've seen is we have Qatari independent schools where it's mostly that are mostly composed of Qatari students. On the other side, you have these community-based schools. So you have schools based around Pakistani communities, Indian communities, and communities of different nationalities. And then you have international private schools. So, I mean, personally speaking, until grade 6, I barely spoke a word of Arabic because I was in a Pakistani school, and I had no interaction with Qatari students from other sort of independent schools. And it was only when I went to an international school that I actually had the opportunity to talk and engage with all these different cultures. And we hope to sort of facilitate those interactions much further and to sort of gather this network create a network of schools where students from all three streams can come and discuss topics with each other and actually engage in a conversation.
So I think it's beautiful because I think if you have gone through this experience, now you can find a topic. What are main values within the student? What are the student dreams in the different three settings? What can put the people together? What connects them? What makes this population, whether in a community school or in a private international or the other one, what puts them together? Because that will be, if we are talking about also the line of peace education, that is very important in today's situation of learning how to be and live with others. I think that's a very, very important topic. So what are the values that can unite based on what the students would like to see in their lives, no? Yeah.
I have two questions for you. So first of all, you're actually operating in a country, large country, so it has a bigger picture. You know that here cultures, nationalities are scattered across the country. That's one, across social class and economical class. And I'm trying to understand how you're going to deal with that. So before you can accomplish results, you need to understand the contra forces that can exist against your project and that you have no control over. That's one. Number two, as a potential investor, I'd like to know how you're going to deliver the project within schools. Thank you.
Part of the reason why we want to develop this project further is what you mentioned about the communities being scattered. And the idea here is there are schools that are interested in these sort of initiatives. We have already talked to certain schools, and what they've told us is that, first of all, there's some level of denial and concerns about certain sort of social issues, but on a sort of larger note, they are sort of very welcoming to this sort of initiative. And we have to start somewhere. So, for example, with language, for example, there are language barriers. There are barriers when it comes to schools that have certain considerations when it comes to gender segregation. We take those things into account. But the point of us co-creating the program is that because we designed the project with their input all along the way, rather than us giving them a finished product without really having a good idea of what they want, we sort of work around that issue in a way. And so for our pilot project, what we're planning to do is reach out to schools, and this again goes out to any school administrators that are here. What we're trying to do is reach out to schools and have an initial set of 5 to 6 schools that represent these different sort of schooling segments in the country. So that would be the independent schools for boys and girls, international private schools, British or American or whatever it might be, and certain community-based schools from the Filipino community, from the Indian community, from the Egyptian community, and so on. And the idea then would be to bring them together alongside content delivery partners, and then work together to build that program that they think will work for them.
Our next presentation is called the Pantech Initiative, which provides access to education for out-of-school children by adapting internationally recognized homeschooling models to refugee camp context. Please welcome the Pantech team and their presenters Dana Alanzi and Chol Yak Akoy.
Pantech is a Dinka word from a South Sudanese community, meaning one family. This is a project that was inspired by my personal educational struggle in the camp when I was a little boy. 14 years ago, I arrived in Kakuma refugee camp. Kakuma is one of the largest refugee camps in the world, with over 180,000 refugees from different nationalities. I could not imagine that this new found home would be where my life would change. There, I hardly could read nor write in any other languages other than my Dinka mother tongue. I struggled both in school and at home. I had to find somewhere to study at home because I was actually taller than my friend. I could not go to any of the classes. Despite the challenges in the camp and the agony, I had one aspiration, just like any other child, that one day I would go to school, get educated, and become somebody better in the future. Well, this is a story of one young boy representing millions of other children all over the world. Unfortunately, education has always been the first casualty in all emergency situations, as close attention is paid to other immediate needs. As you are all aware, 59 million children all over the world are out of school. 29 million of those are living in the refugee camps. In Kakuma refugee camp alone, there are over 30,000 out of the 74,000 primary age children who are out of school, as we sit here today. These kids need the same opportunity that I was given 14 years ago. I am now a master degree student at the University of Nairobi. I couldn't imagine that I would be that far.
We are here today to present to you an innovative initiative, the Pantech Project. Our project, Pantech, is committed to providing access to basic primary education for all school-aged children living in refugee camps. We plan on using an innovative and relatively low-cost adaptation of world-recognized homeschooling models. Through leveraging on existing but underutilized capacities that are found in refugee communities. In the refugee context, our homeschooling model will involve, firstly, training of university and high school graduates who are from within the camp. Secondly, the community leaders, parents and/or guardians on the delivery of the materials. Thirdly, the creation of a network of family clusters, a cluster being a group of 2 to 3 families working together who will facilitate the tutoring. Fourthly, the creation of orientation programs for participating families using low-cost information and communication technologies. And finally, partnering with existing local education providers and other stakeholders, such as the UNHCR and the Ministry of Education in Kenya. Our piloting project, which will be conducted in the Kakuma camp within Kenya, will include 150 children, their parents, guardians, and community leaders, 30 university and high school graduates from within the refugee camps, the Pantech Project team itself, the UNHCR, which is providing space and assistance in selecting the beneficiaries and the graduates, the Kenyan Ministry of Education, which will assist in modification of the curriculum and materials for use in homeschooling and training of the first cadre of facilitators. The experience gained from implementing the Pantech project within the Kakuma refugee camp will assist us in gaining enough knowledge to expand our project from the initial pilot to a 3-year planned program. Furthermore, we plan on taking this globally by assisting neighboring refugee camps around the globe. Thus, we are here today to ask you to pledge your support and help us raise $50,000. This will help us realize the goals and objectives of the pilot stage of this first-time homeschooling initiative, allowing them access to this basic and fundamental right will empower the growth of these children into the envisionment of their dreams. Hand in hand, join our team and those children to take the first steps together to provide them with their rightful opportunity of access to education. Thank you for being here today. That in itself is a sign of tremendous support. We would like to open the floor now for any questions and inquiries.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra Cowan. I work for the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR. Very excited to see a project here focusing on education for refugees. Chol, in particular, probably inspired many of the wise learners, so we're quite happy about that. Congratulations on this initiative. It's an interesting proposal. I'm very familiar with Kakuma, so I look forward to giving the team more detailed feedback. I guess I have two main questions or concerns. The first is that we want to make sure that all of our programming for out-of-school children in refugee contexts is based on evidence. And evidence means, in this case, what kind of assessments have we done to evaluate why children are out of school, what the root causes are, and then tailor our programming to address those root causes. So I would like to know, in the case of Kakuma, where there has been such an assessment recently, how does this project speak to that evidence, and how will it be addressing a key gap in out-of-school children programming? Second of all, we are always concerned about dwindling resources in refugee contexts, and we discourage as much as possible setting up parallel education systems because we ourselves are not experts in education, and we know that children need certificates and access to examinations, etc. So while homeschooling may be an important alternative program in the short term, what do you foresee as a longer term solution to integrate these children into the formal school system in Kenya so that they can access examinations and certification? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. First of all, the evidence on and why we chose this is that the ratio of teachers to student to teacher in Kakuma is 96:1, and the reason why children are out of school is lack of infrastructure. So we adapted homeschool models and to this project, so we are able to teach children even outside of schools, and how we are going to ensure that they go back to school and be able to go further in education. We have contacted with Ms. Mary. She's a mother, and she educated 2 of her children who go to college right now in homeschooling modules. We contacted her, and she will be able to help us a little bit further. And how sustainable, and the long terms, we actually have 6 phases that will, each 2 phases will take a year. And by the end of the last phase, we should have 900 students and 180 high school graduates. We'll be using educational packages, so the books will be recycled. So we will have a sense of sustainability of resources. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, very wonderful project. I just want to know very shortly the budget for this project. Did you work on it and how much it is?
Yeah, thank you for your question. We estimated $50,000 for this project, and we have different phases for the first year that we should spend this budget. We have like the percentage for each part, like we have labor cost. We estimated 54%. For the labor cost, for the travel cost, we estimated 10%, and for other material costs, we estimated 17%, and 50,000 is like our budget for the first year.
I'm Leonardo, a current voice learner. My question is regarding the sustainability of this project. So when you have this homeschooling system, then the students, let's say, graduate from the program, but how can they further advance their education? It's like there a second phase of this program, or is there any transition to university education or tertiary education? And if so, how will it work? And also, how much budget will it be needed in order to provide these additional tools, so they don't just receive one program, but they actually can have a track and a career they can pursue through this education? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So for this project, what we are focusing on is not the schooling system in itself. What you have to understand is we're taking the basic literacy and mathematics skills, and we're trying to provide these skills to the children who are not being provided as of now, which is not in any means replacing the schooling system, but rather providing those skills to the children who have not been provided it as we speak. Talking about their transition from our program to higher levels of education, we will be adapting the homeschooling curriculums in collaboration with the Kenyan curriculum to find similarities and dissimilarities and addressing them appropriately. Also, we are expecting to work together with the Ministry of Education in Kenya and UNHCR and the community leaders in how we can integrate these children into the further schooling system. But what I would want to note is that right now there's about 30,000 children out of school in Kakuma camp alone. So instead of having them out of school, we are trying to provide them with basic literacy and mathematics skills instead of having nothing. Thank you.
The next presentation will be by the Imagine Project, which utilizes the use of inquiry and activity-based educational methods and technologies to increase student engagement, performance, and overall development. Please welcome to the stage the Imagine Project and their presenter, Dina Nawaz.
Imagine. Imagine is a very powerful word, which is why we use it so often. Imagination lets you go places. It lets you transcend reality and be who you want to be. Which is why the Imagine Project wants to imagine a classroom where teachers and students are working together, learning and creating knowledge. As I speak to you today, more students are in school than ever before in history. This is big, and what a great opportunity it presents to us. We got these students in school. Now let's give them access to quality education. An education that is relevant, that gives them opportunities, 21st century skills, and propels them for higher learning. Because we all in this room know that simply access to education is not enough anymore. So the problem is clear. It's a lack of quality education. But to understand this problem further, we wanted to embed it in research. So over the summer, we had our outreach manager, Evans Rumbold. He went to his hometown, Haiti, which is where we want to pilot our project. So in Gonaïves, he conducted a set of interviews, focus groups with different educational stakeholders. So these included Ministry of Education in Haiti, different NGOs, as well as teachers and students who are part of these classes. And the resounding concern was that poor teacher training, schools are overcrowded, underfunded, teachers are underpaid, and just really overwhelmed with what's happening. And just a lack of exciting experiences for the students to really engage with the education that now they're receiving. In addition, Haiti also has an 84% rate of teachers who are not professionally trained. Most of them don't even graduate high school. So the opportunity is clear. The Imagine project wants to address this by providing inquiry-based education. Inquiry-based education is key to providing the skills and knowledge that is necessary. Inquiry-based education is simply a practice. It's a method. It's a method to promote critical thinking, problem-solving skills, to not transfer information in schools, but transfer skills, skills that can be used higher on in your lives. And we want to use this approach, connect it with technology, and change instructional practices in schools, mainly primary schools. Instructional practice because we all know teachers are the center of the learning process. I am still in debt to teachers who inspired me at a young age and showed me what my life could be. Some of my team members are teachers themselves in different parts of the world. Hence, we focus on instructional practice. We want teachers who are themselves in these classrooms sometimes demotivated and disengaged. We want them to have an alternative range of pedagogical strategies that they could use, that they could work with the students themselves. We see it happening, and we vision it through an up-to-date mobile learning center, a bus which is going to be equipped with resources and technology, which is going to drive into a number of rural schools in Haiti for the pilot project. So now the critical resource in this bus is not the technology or the fact that it has resources, but the important resource in that bus are the experts. These are expert teachers who are good at what they do, who have inspired people. We are going to outsource these teachers or find them in Haiti, get them together who are experts in inquiry-based education. And through a demonstration and a participatory-based method, they will demonstrate classes and teach the students in the local schools, while the local teacher watches and observes. Our hope is that the excitement that the students are going to have from these new methods in this new outdoor space and in the mobile learning center would inspire teachers. Because we don't always need teachers to inspire students. Maybe sometimes the inspiration can come from students to teachers. Finally, we do not want to plunge schools and communities and teachers into this project. So before we start these modules, which will be aligned to the national curriculum so that we can track academic success, we will have workshops with school directors and teachers so that they are aware of this program and why we are really doing this. And then we move on to these modules. After a few months, the experts hand over these classes to the local teachers so they can try out these methods, use them, dispose them, but they have the choice now. Our business model is simple for this project. In the first year, we will work on a sponsorship-based model and on grants. We can have local as well as international sponsors sponsor a part of the program, some of the teachers, or the entire program. However, we understand sustainability is key. So as we go to the next years of the project, we are already in discussion with partners in Haiti who are willing to rent our mobile resource center for various purposes, and we will gather a revenue by renting out our services to those who need them. And this is where our revenue will come from. The total cost of the project, as we have estimated, is $120,000. But $120,000 covers the initial setup cost, the cost for 1 year, and the one-time cost as well. And imagine the impact that money would have, because this bus is scalable and as well as mobile. So it's going to go from one school to another. It can access remote areas, which is why we have chosen rural areas in Haiti to start with, because we want to test our model in a place where there is a critical need. And at the same time, it's innovative in the context. And the possibilities are endless. I can imagine this bus going through my hometown in Bangladesh. It can be in the streets of any country, in your village, in your hometown. What I ask of you today is simple. I ask for your patronage, your support, your feedback, and just simply a conversation with us later on to talk about these possibilities, to talk about these practices, and talk about the role of instructional practice. So now, let's stop imagining, and let's make this a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dina. Now we are open to your questions.
I'm from the Learner's Voice as well. I'd like to know, like, if I understood right, you're planning to move with the bus from like village to village, but if you're changing the students all the time, like, how are you planning to evaluate if if the method is successful, if actually the teachers are improving in a way? Like, what's your evaluation method to see if it works?
Hello. Okay, hello. Thank you very much for your question. So basically, our pilot project is going to last 1 year, and we are already in negotiations with 2 schools, and they accept our proposal and they want to work together. So basically how we are going to evaluate is, we are going to start at 5th and 6th grade and focus on math and languages, and we are going to conduct a survey before and during and after the beginning of, before the project begins, during and after it ends. And we are also going to question both student satisfaction and their grades, as well as teacher satisfaction and how they find the project. Thank you.
My name is Rachel, and I work here in Qatar with an employability NGO, and I'm very familiar with most of you from this year's group. I want to congratulate all of you. So far, what I've heard is really inspirational. I have a specific question for this group. So you've talked about really needing, it's a teacher training-based model, where you're bringing inquiry-based learning and new pedagogies to teachers, many of whom themselves don't have any training in teaching. The challenge is enormous. As someone who's been involved in teacher training with people who are professional teachers, what I can tell you is it's going to be incredibly difficult, which isn't to say you shouldn't do it. It's a very exciting model. The only thing I heard you say in terms of what kind of training that they were receiving was really observing the master teachers from the project sort of model these lessons. And that, I can tell you right now, is not nearly enough. If the teachers who you're working with aren't engaged in delivering, no matter how hard or scary that might be, observing is a lovely first step, but it is only a first step. So I've wondered if you've mapped out any further the model for the actual components of transferring this information, this pedagogy, this different learning methods from the master trainers to the actual teachers in the schools. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your question. So yes, we start first before even the participatory where the local teachers observe. We are going to have workshops for teachers and school directors as well, because we want to involve them. And that's where they get more of a theoretical understanding. We talk about inquiry-based practices, and they get some training there, the more professional training. And after the observing period is over, where the experts are presenting themselves, they hand over the class to the local teachers, but we still have the experts around, because it's still going to be in the same locality that the bus is going to move around. So there will be assessments. So for example, the experts could go back and sit in the class and see how they're doing. So there's definitely a feedback mechanism. And secondly, the experts that we are planning to choose and that we are thinking about right now are teachers and trainers who have been doing this for years. They're inspirational, and they do it without the need of anything extra. So they do it basically as an approach. And the participation and the demonstration is basically to inspire teachers as opposed to giving them the skills, because the skills would happen to workshops as well as through feedback when they take over the classes. Thank you.
So first, I want to thank the Wise Learner's Voice in general program. I was a mentor in 2011. I saw the program grow, and now you have even more time, so it's even more exciting what you're proposing. So congratulations to all of those that presented, and to those that helped you during that year. So that's the first step. The second thing I want to say is I have a very good friend, Ashoka Fellow in IT, that happens to be running the best school in the world according to the Lego Foundation. And what is he doing? Inquiry-based education. So I don't know if you already know him, but I can certainly put you in contact with him. The third thing we do is in Paris we have also a similar program where we start from the kids' question and we bring them all the way to the scientific method up to scientific presentation in congresses and museums and so on. We are scaling that project up and we're building a MOOC in order to be able to train teachers globally. Okay? So this MOOC will be available online and we can think of ways of delivering it and offering it to the people involved in your program.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, team. The next project that will be presented is called Bila Hudud, which is an online clearinghouse for special needs education that centralizes, the dissemination and delivery of special needs teaching and training. Please welcome the Bila Hudud team and their presenters, Sharif, Fatma, and Shaima.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sharif, and I would like to tell you guys a story, a personal story. On my first day of kindergarten, my mother asked my teacher, "Do you really think Sharif is going to make it?" So she replied, let's just take this one step at a time. My parents, who are now here in the audience, told me this the day that I graduated from high school. And now I'm a senior in Georgetown. I'm about to graduate in May. So people with special needs make up 15% of the world's population. That's 1 billion people. 100 million of them are children with special needs that do not have proper access to education. I am one of the 1 billion people, but I was lucky to have been given that opportunity to education. Now we're here to build bridges and break barriers.
If Sharif's story was not convincing enough for you, here's more. We're gathered here today at WISE to discuss issues of education. So we discuss education for girls, education in poor countries, education in areas of conflict, but we seem to overlook a very persistent challenge and gap, which is special needs education. And we fail to realize that this gap goes across all other gaps. A student with special need can actually be a girl, can be a refugee, can be a poor kid, can be someone who lives in an area of conflict. So we can call the gap of special needs the gap of all gaps. And by addressing it, we are addressing the previously mentioned gaps altogether. So since we have all those big numbers, big figures, and a clear problem, why is this still a persistent challenge? Here's why. Students with special needs and their families are faced with misunderstanding, fear, and stigmatization by the society surrounding them. And there is no full investment for practice-based research and information that education providers can refer to. And it is not enough for students to have their teachers facilitate their access to information, but they also need a support network where they can get guidance, consultancy, and share their experiences with other families and individuals. So what can we do to fix the situation? First of all, we need to provide access for students with special needs into regular classrooms. And in order to do that, we need to provide their teachers with information and show them where they can get support by establishing a universal go-to resource center.
We are Bila Hudud, and we're here to provide you with the solution. Now, what is Bila Hudud? Bila Hudud is an online clearinghouse. It's a website. It's a resource center that provides full range of practice-based online training coming from policymakers, practitioners, and teachers located worldwide. So let me take you through our journey and how will we do that. This is our implementation plan. There are two main phases in our implementation plan. In the first phase, we will provide a database. This will provide up-to-date, very recent research on practice-based technology and ways in order to help teachers to maintain special needs students inside classrooms. 2, a calendar that marks events, conferences, and webinars and puts them in one place all together on our website. We will also provide our end users to register to these events through membership in our website. Also, we will compile together contact info. We will build contact info together. We will build a directory between organizations and individuals and put them together, ready for education providers that can use them in case they seek help or guidance. And finally, the Call Us button. Now, the Call Us button is for parents. These parents can call us, and then we will connect them with specialists who can give them tips and helpful information in order to deal with the very specific details and the very specific cases of their children. Now, in the second phase, we will add 2 more services. 1, webinars and massive open online courses, or MOOCs. We will host them and collect them together on our website. And finally, we will have a specialized social network. This will connect our end users with specialized teachers, partners, and technology suppliers. We will put them all together in one place and provide them with a space in order to exchange information and also have a support network.
We will start our project in Qatar. You may wonder, why Qatar? Here's why. We have met with officials working in the field of special needs from the SEC, which is the Supreme Education Council, an equivalent for the Ministry of Education here in Qatar, and we have them on board with us as supporters and partners, and they will facilitate our reach for students with special needs and to schools and will help us promote our project. Also, we have large numbers of students with special needs here in Qatar that are not mainstreamed in the independent schools. So we have a persistent need for the services here in Qatar. Our pilot project will focus on one disability at the very beginning, that is hearing disability. You see that very thin line on the chart? This is the share of schools that are equipped for hearing disability. This is only 1% of the schools in Qatar that are equipped for students with hearing disability, and that's exactly why we're starting with it. After that, we're planning to expand to cover more disabilities by time until we reach full coverage for all kinds of disabilities.
Now, establishing our clearinghouse will take $100,000. This includes the cost of establishing the website as well as the services we will provide to our end users. Now, very minor research in the cost-benefit analysis of investment in the special needs education field will show you that investment in the special needs education doesn't only benefit students, but it also invests in the country as a whole and also cuts expenses on the long run. Now I'm here to invite you all to help us, to join us in our mission, to help us change the lives of these students, help us change the lives of people like Sharif and many other people. We're here to invite you to join us. So please, if you have any questions, the floor is yours. Thank you.
My question is, I mean, there's this whole field is very complex. There's been a lot of work done, not always consensus about what are the best ways of dealing with particular needs, because the disabilities is such a wide category. How are you so? And then at the same time, you're thinking of performing this channeling role, a role where you're going to have a dashboard or a web presence, and an actual physical human presence behind that to deal with all these inquiries. You could, I mean, one could be forgiven for thinking that that would require a very significant human resource base behind it. Is that something that you've thought through in terms of numbers, expertise, etc., and how you're going to plug into the global body of expertise on this?
Thank you for that question. It's very necessary. We've been working on that initiative in the last 9 months, and some of the people in this group are not aware of special needs as Sharif. As for me, I was working in a completely different industry. But we reached out to the people who really know how the things work, and we got we traveled to international conferences within the last year, with the largest of them being the conference on special needs organized by NASEN, the National Association for Special Education Needs in Britain, which is the largest international conference on the issue. And we managed to get such people as Mel Ensko, who's one of the leading people in the industry, as well as people from the University of Manchester, the British University in Dubai, and many other people who really know how to do the thing and who are experts in particular issues. We start with hearing disability only, but there's a whole front of work to do. And the thing which we found out from the people who are in the industry for 40 years, for 50 years, there's a lack of communication tools. They don't know how to deliver the things to the people who really need training and how to teach children. Although there's a huge desire to help, there isn't a tool that helps these people to get through to each other and to connect. So we are trying to fill in this gap and to help them find each other.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? We have time for one more question. This lady's hand went up first.
Yeah, so I'm a fellow at Teach for Qatar, and my main question is just that sometimes parents, especially, they don't even want to admit that their child has a learning disability. So how would you go about providing, which in the Middle East, like for example, one of my classes, I would say about, like just, I'm not a specialist or anything, but I would say like at least like the majority of my class had some kind of learning disability, because I was given yeah, anyway. Basically, yeah, and I had only one student listed as a student with learning disability. So how would you go about providing that support for people who don't even list their kids as people with learning disabilities?
Well, thank you for your question. We are actually fully aware of the social stigmatization of students with special needs. We're aware that sometimes parents wouldn't want to recognize that their children might need a little extra help in the classroom. And I feel like awareness is the first step in order to accomplish something with that. This is first. Second, parents, as long as teachers, they are our very primary end users. And because they are local members of this group, communication with these parents will be a little bit easier with them, especially local parents. So focusing on parents and teachers will, inshallah, help us to go through this stigmatization. And hopefully in 10 years, we won't even have to consider this culture thing.
So last, but by no means least, we have Empafest, the Do-It-Yourself Empathy Festival. This is an initiative that develops empathy through a transformative program for teenagers. So please welcome to the stage Empafest and their presenters Bonnie and Philip.
When I was a child, I moved to America. My immigrant family was rich in hope, but poor in money. This is the smile I showed the world, but inside I was ashamed. Ashamed to be wearing my hand-me-down clothes, humiliated for speaking broken English. I would hide in the bathroom stalls to try to escape the taunts and the cheers, where no one would be able to see me cry. I felt ashamed and I felt alone. I was one of the 160,000 US students every day that stay home from school to escape their tormentors. We all have our own memories of being rejected for being different. More than half of all suicides in young people is due to bullying. This may start in the schoolyards, but then it ripples outward. Our inability to understand other people's viewpoints and feelings is at the root of societal problems: inequality, conflict, prejudice. Our school systems are not designed to teach students the social emotional skills to adapt in today's rapidly changing world. The antidote we need now is empathy. Empathy is the power to understand and step into the shoes of others.
We are Empafest. We are Empafest, the Do-It-Yourself Empathy Festival. We want to empower the young generation with empathy so that they can learn to overcome differences, be it socioeconomic, cultural, religious. Empafest is an empathy festival, a collection of activities to teach empathy to 15 to 18-year-olds. Empathize with this scenario. You are a teacher or a community organization who wants to foster empathy amongst the local teens. First, you reach out to us through our website or our partnership. Then, we will provide you with online resources and the curriculum to organize your very own Empafest activities. These activities are immersive because empathy is best learnt through personal experiences. It is do-it-yourself, so it is easily implemented. It is also customizable, so you can choose which activities you want. So what does Empafest actually look like? An attractive feature of Empafest is its flexibility. It can be an annual school carnival where students visit different activities with food and music. It can be a weekly after-school Empafest club or a daily class exercise. After organizing Empafest, we will then connect you with ongoing training and resources, and you will join a community of organizers. Learning about empathy is so important that we are now going to offer the program for free in a licensing model. Our revenue will come from sponsorship, advertisements, and grants. Our focus on partnerships with community organizations is key. This will ensure our sustainability and bring different school students together. How do we know that Empafest will work? Well, actually, we tested Empafest in Salta, Argentina, a community that sees the value of empathy in overcoming conflict. For example, gender violence, bullying, and even suicide. We partnered with Manos Arboritas, a local organization that runs education programs in a network of schools. Our teammate Ezekiel consulted with teachers, parents, public and private sectors. He worked with them to test our activities with 40 rural and urban students. They all confirmed that Empafest is needed. They told us Empafest will teach the students tolerance, teamwork, and other skills to not only overcome conflict and misunderstanding, but it will prepare them for university and their careers.
We want to empower young people not only in Salta, but all over the world. Our next steps are to run a full program in Salta, design more activities for regional expansion, and then by 2020, hold 100 Empafests in 5 different countries. Ultimately, we want to create an online open source hub where teachers can come together to co-create the curriculum. We are looking for $25,000 in 2016 so that we could bring this vision to reality. We want to use this money to run this full program and also to develop the online hub. We are also looking for schools and organizations who want to host Empafest in their communities. We want to grow Empafest with you. If you really want to invest for impact today, then invest in us. Changing the world starts with a very simple lesson that we are not so different from each other after all. Look around you now at this diverse room, regardless of what you wear or what you speak. We are Empathfest, and we are committed to building and celebrating a more inclusive world. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce the rest of my team. Annie from Brazil, Danshi from China, Trang from Vietnam, Nada here from Qatar, and Ezekiel from Argentina. We would now love to take your questions.
First of all, congratulations to all of you. My name is Maria Zapata. I work in an organization called Ashoka, Innovators for the Public. And after working for more than 30 years with social entrepreneurs, our key work right now goes around empathy. We've realized that to create a world of everyone a change maker, we need to start with the empathy as a key skill. For us, it's not only being nice to each other, it's not only knowing each other, it's actually what you are going to be in the future. It starts with having that skill within you, within your skill set. So apart from congratulating you and being so happy that there are other people thinking exactly along our own lines, I wanted to give you a couple of suggestions. One of them, there are a lot of different activities and programs within the startempathy.org that you can access. I see you're nodding your head. I'm very glad that you have already looked at that. My key question would be, why starting at the age of 15? You know, this is something you grow. Apparently, this is a skill you are born with, but you actually need to use it and practice it throughout your life. So I was really surprised to see your age group. I thought it was going to be much earlier. So I would like to hear from you why that age group. Thanks, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much for your question, and thank you for being here. We expected this question, so people always talk about early intervention, and we completely agree with that. But there is a population that hasn't received this early intervention, and that is that specific age group. But also, this age group has already had experience in life, quote unquote. They're still young, but they were experiencing a lot of social issues in school. This is the age where you start to see bullying and social pressure and abuse sometimes. So it's a very critical transition between being younger and then adulthood. So we wanted to work with a group that has already dealt with these issues, is dealing with these issues, and is also preparing for a massive the next stage in their life, which is adulthood, when they're going to be working and entering college, when these issues are even more, they can become more serious. So that's exactly why we chose this group. And also, there are so many other initiatives working with younger students. And we wanted to differentiate ourselves and work with a group that may not be receiving the attention that they actually need.
Yeah, there was that hand in the back in the white shirt. He had it up first.
Hello, here's Leo, a learner again. So I was wondering, so it has been said that empathy is a skill that you actually you need to acquire, but not only acquire it, but develop it. And from what I saw from Empathfest is basically an event where you get this introduction to empathy and you get to develop some certain initial skills, but then how you can keep developing it and how you can keep growing it and practicing it, because like any other skill in your life, if you don't practice it, how can you really have it? So I'm wondering how's this sustainable part of this empathy skill. Thank you.
Hi, Leo. Thank you so much for your question, and it's a really good one. Yes, empathy can be developed, and how do we make sure that it's going to keep going and it's not just a one-off event? Well, this is exactly why we wanted to go for a do-it-yourself curriculum. So the continuity of the project doesn't depend on us being present there or on specific facilitators being present there, but it's something that we can empower teachers to carry out either on a day-to-day basis, as Philip was saying. It could be during their classrooms, or it could be a festival happening throughout the year in certain moments. But the idea is we want activities that everyone can make happen in their context. And we believe this is so important because stimulating a positive learning environment is actually key for people to have academic performance and academic retention. And if we hear stories like the one of Bonnie, I wonder what's the point of investing in quality education if the student is not actually present there with their heart because they feel like they have to hide in the bathroom because they're not receiving this positive learning environment. So we really, really hope that the schools will implement it to a wider level, and making it as simple as possible for everyone to apply will be the key reason for it to be continuous.
Thank you, guys.